Let's go live. It says I'm live. It's not a pre-record. It's a live stream. We do it live. It's not practice. It's live. Hi everyone, Spanners here. This is the pre-show. So this is the pre-waffle. And I haven't got a plan for it. It's not scripted. There's no teleprompter. So if you want to see where the show starts, go in the description and it will say the show starts here. And then there'll be a little blue number. You click that and then you'll get this flying helmet in front of you going meow, like that. It's all very clever. So I did experiment with cutting the show up into segments, and I was like, yeah, this is the modern way. We'll boss the algorithm. We'll do short, snappy titles. Here's the McLaren battle. Boom. There you go. Here's the link at the bottom of that description to the next segment where we talk about Ferrari. Oh, yeah, the modern world. And everybody just went rabble, rabble, rabble. I got so many complaints about it, so we are reverting back to full episodes because I've just folded under pressure. Like there's very little stress and pressure I can take at 45. If enough of you just go, give up, shave your head. Who are you kidding with that comb over? I probably will. I will just end up shaving it because poor Gasly getting called out on that interview thing. And I know he hasn't kept it a secret, but Verstappen was talking. They said, who's going to have the best hair? And they were saying, oh, poor Gasly's had an upgrade. I was like, yeah, let's normalize it because my hairdresser keeps giving me this little comb over. I think it's time to give up the fight. Matt's here as well. Hello, Matt.
Yep.
God, you've got
here, and
you've
that
got
was
what? That was what?
I said that was you have to assume that Max and Pierre are friends for him to have said something like that, right?
Yeah. That's the worst. That's the worst thing about having friends. They know your stuff and secrets and it can expose it. So like Van Gene's the worst for it. He's always on the verge of like disclosing private conversations, and I'm there on the stream going, "No, Alex, stop, please, no! Don't let them know the real me." Hey, you've got a fine head of hair there, Matt. I would say you've got a suspiciously fine head of hair for a man of your years.
Yeah, well, I inherited it from my grandpa, who also had a fairly good head of hair late into his life.
Is Matt quiet?
Yeah, I just come by it. I just come by it, man. That's it.
And you diet ginger, do you?
Me?
Yeah, there's always like a suspicious fleck of ginger in there.
No, I don't. I think once in my life I dyed my hair, and that was enough for me.
Oh, turn your volume up a little bit, Matt. Yeah. Turn your mic up.
Thank you. It's pretty early to be calling me a turnip here, Spanner.
I dyed my hair once, right? Oh, we've got Antonia here as well. Hello, Antonia. That's natural blonde, is it?
I beat both of you on the locks front, I think.
Yeah, you do. You are rocking some hair. Is that like a natural hair color as well?
Oh no, no! I implanted this hair into my head just like Gasly did.
Right. Okay, but you could sell that for a lot of money. You've suddenly gone quiet. Oh, don't know why. Oh, your microphone fell away
for you.
No, your microphone's fallen away. It was up here, and now it's down there.
Yeah, sorry, it's nervous.
Antonia, no!
Let me see if I can.
Are we live? Are we actually live? Okay. Right, it's fine. I dyed my hair once. But basically, the closer you can get up here, the better.
It's kind of.
You've got a broken right, so we need a new boom arm.
Look, I put it up and it just falls straight down.
Okay, well, don't put it under pressure. Right,
doesn't usually happen.
Right, well, we need it to be a little bit closer. So see what you can do. Is that
better?
It is better, yeah. Well, the closer it is to your face, it's better. So when we were in the pre-show, I could hear you clearly, and then it's sort of gone away. But I dyed my hair one time. And it was because the Japanese football team in a World Cup in the 90s all dyed their hair blonde. Or is it the Romanians? I think it was Japan. And I thought, with people with their hair colour, because I'm half from that part of the world, I said, maybe I can do it as well. And it just went this bright orange. And I got dumped the next day. I literally turned up. Yeah. My girlfriend at the time just was like, oh, okay, that's fine.
You deserved that.
And then I got like a phone call.
That's an interesting way to figure out what attracted them to you in the first place.
Well, I don't know. It was
for sure.
In my head, I just got a note from her friend going, "Oh
dear,
we're not going out anymore." But I can't remember. 15, I think. Nico says,
15. Yeah.
Nico says, "I'm at the point where I'm doing it preventatively as soon as I notice thinning and a bit of receding." Yeah, a lot of men go through that point where they go, "Do you know what? it's over. And let's
I
go for it.
admire that level of acceptance because you do see the dodgy 3-head comb overs.
Yeah.
That does look almost a lot worse.
Yeah, all right. Leave me alone.
Where you are. That's okay. I feel like you've got a few more years in you.
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm just going to go and get the turkey treatment. I'm going to do it. I'll do it. No, all they do is they just take some from the back of your head and just put it at the front.
You have enough at the back of your head or will you end up then receding at the back too?
I don't have a bald spot, so I think this is my only issue there. So I think it doesn't have to go like here, like the Gasly. Like it doesn't have to go across there. Just a little bit. Just stop the march of time and live in denial. That's all I want. Right. Okay, let's just do a little sound check then because we're different on sound. Antonia, can you give me the sound check again? Just give me a purple burglar alarm.
Purple burglar alarm.
Matt?
Purple burglar alarm.
Okay. Is that comfortable enough live stream? Are they sort of roughly, we can hear them all at least? So there you go. I have to ride the fader a little bit. In fact, Matt, I know I got you to turn up. No, leave it where it is.
You want me to turn back down?
Yeah, and then I'll bring you both up just because Antonia's mic has gone astray. But yeah, see, the thing is, because it's Thursday now and it's the media day, we can't really talk about this story with George Russell because by the time it comes out, it'll definitely be resolved whether he can turn up for Friday practice or not. But the obvious replacement is Bottas, right? It's got to be.
Yeah,
correct. Sure.
Or now that he's going
with the grid penalty, don't forget, if he's still got a penalty to serve if he's on the grid. And if I'm Cadillac, I would love for him to race this weekend.
Well, this is it, though. If you're Mercedes, surely you don't want the confirmed Cadillac driver now getting in your new car? Or would they just be not bothered about Cadillac?
I don't think they'd be too bothered because like Cadillac's going to be nowhere near them and they have a different power unit entirely. So it's not going to make a difference that way, but it will make a difference in terms of Cadillac won't have to deal with him having a grid penalty. Although it's Cadillac, so it probably won't matter.
I thought that had been debunked. I thought they'd said he doesn't have to serve that anymore.
Really?
It's like the equivalent of a statute of limitations on penalties. So it's within a however many month window and then it expires from what I've read.
Go back up again,
That's
Matt,
new information to me, so thank you for sharing it.
Matt, go back up to where you were because Antonia just suddenly got loud again. She's gone into podcast voice. Now that we're talking info.
Wait until I start getting annoyed at you guys.
It's the jewels making the volume go really up because I'm eating the microphone and then I'm going to sit way back here.
So many people do that. Van Gene, like, he'll forget and he'll be reading something and he'll be reading it over there. And I'm like, Alex, microphone. You're all nut. It's all right. Fix it in post. Yeah. It's only the live stream people that get this kind of treatment. Anyway, good. Lots of stuff to look forward to Baku. Baku is at least interesting. So I'll just hit record on all the things so that we can share it with the non-live stream people. Ew. Imagine not watching live. Imagine not being one of the cool kids.
Imagine having so much of a life that you couldn't watch this live. That would be tragic.
Like Antonia with her job.
I know. I'm just too employed for you guys now.
Yeah. No, honestly, like when people like say like Chris is like, oh, I've been sacked from this series. I'm like, oh no. And then next day, so do you want to do the next 3 race reviews?
What are you doing Sunday?
Yeah. Especially when it comes around like Christmas, Matt will be like, oh, I lost out on that gig. And you go, oh no, tech time? We should do a tech time.
Like that clip from Top Gear about the Dacia Sandero.
No.
The Dacia Sandero has been delayed. Oh no! Anyway.
Oh, is that where that's from?
Yeah, that's where
that's from. I didn't know that.
James is really excited about the Dacia Sandero, unlike anyone in the world.
Oh right, yeah. So I do have that little bit of a thing with the guys. I've been made unemployed. Or you go, I've got my dream job. Oh no, here's the worst one. We're having a baby. You go, no. Actually,
we had a correction in the chat about the Bottas penalty. There's a change because of the 2026 regs change. They aren't the regulation that Bottas had his penalty under, therefore they no longer stand. That is interesting.
That is Adrian. He's Australian. Can we really trust him?
I don't know. They're kind of like Brits who emigrated loads and loads and loads of years ago, so I trust him.
I don't talk politics, right? And this isn't political, but there was an Australian guy because we've got Trump, your president, Matt, your commander-in-chief, visiting our king. Yeah, and he's coming over.
I mean, really, wouldn't you like to be a fly on the wall and listen to that conversation off the record? What are they going to talk about?
Chips, fish and chips.
I can't even imagine.
Oh, by the way,
real estate, golf. I don't know, but it's got to be hilarious.
There's a good little action movie on Prime called Heads of State with John Cena and Idris Elba.
That other person.
Idris
Yes,
Elba
okay.
as the president and prime minister getting together, and what do they talk about? Good little action movie. It's Heads of State, it's called. But yeah, so like Brits are fairly polite. So even like whatever you think, whatever your views, we've got a guest around, so we've all put on our best shoes or whatever, and you just go, "Hello, Mr. President, come on in." Aussie reporter from the press pool just immediately starts giving him a ton of crap, and you're just like, that's not, like, ask what you want, freedom of the press and all that, but it's not very British at all. I'm like, do that in Australia, like, and annoy your own guests.
I quite enjoy that. Although I will say, like, having lived abroad in Europe for a while, I find British indirectness quite rude now.
Oh, do you?
I think it's disrespectful to beat around the bush. I'm like, you know, like when someone's making you read between the lines, or you know they're about to say something but they're holding off. Just say it. Just tell me, because you know it's coming. I think that's rude rather than the directness.
Like the Dutch are incredibly direct.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's the same with the Germans.
And
Beautiful.
I don't know if it's all of Spain, but in Catalan they don't say like thank you or please. They're just like whatever.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't get on board with.
There you go. We'll have our limits.
Still a bit of British in me.
And then the French. And yeah, exactly. It's so horrible going to France, isn't it? Like, I don't know, like, I don't want to not like France. Just like be slightly nice. Just one time. Just like one
I'm just
time.
astonished. Every time I've been to France, everyone, almost everyone without exception, has been very nice to me.
Have you just been
time.
in the
I'm just
specific
curious,
tourist
like,
places?
what you do do you talk about the invasion under your breath? Is this what?
No, I think what it is you try to speak French and they consider that very offensive.
Oh my God. I mean,
Like
I am carrying around a longbow at the time. I don't know how provocative that is.
Maybe.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, go
No,
ahead.
I had French lessons last year because my boss last season was French, and I thought, right, I'm going to try and impress her.
Book yourself.
Oh my God,
into
it couldn't have
hotels.
ended worse. I wrote her a thank you card at the end of the season in French, and she went, "Thank you." I'm never trying again. It was humiliating,
God.
and that's when you try.
Yeah. See, Nico says we were in Paris in June and everyone was nice. Yeah, you're Paris. You're in the tourists.
Paris.
If it's in the tourist bit, that's not French people anyway.
I
That's
thought they
like-
were ruder in Paris.
Maybe French
no,
people
they
are
were
rude
really
in
nice.
Paris.
Really
Paris.
nice to
Fun.
us, but we only have a history of like liberating their country, so maybe that's what it is.
Grumble.
What
Anywhere
do you think?
outside of Paris, anyway.
Okay.
They've got nice bread, nice cheese. Their wine kicks ass. Like, it's insane.
Oh, and it's so cheap over there.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You can get like an 8-year bottle of wine for like £7, and it's nicer than anything you'll get in the UK. But, but you know, cheer up. Like, just cheer up. Just a little bit. Anyway, show. Oh my God, I forgot all the pre-show stays in now. Oh. This
Oh
was
my
a
God.
bad
Wow.
idea. Sorry it's a bit late this week as well. I am feeling slightly better now. But, it's been a rough week. You are listening to Missed Apex Podcast. We live F1. Welcome to Missed Apex Podcast. I'm your host, Richard Reddy, but my friends call me Spanners. So, let's be friends. Today, we're looking forward to the Baku Grand Prix and looking at some of the news circulating around the paddock. The star of the weekend so far is the paddock cat, being featured all over social media, and I approve. Cats are excellent. Cat people are the best people. Dog people, I see you. I acknowledge you, but cats. There's also lots of serious talk about reverse grids coming in as early as 2027 and more sprint races. The sprint race calendar has been issued for 2026. And there's a silly season that's ramping up, lots of transfer rumours. And there's also now apparently a reason behind the reports of Mercedes being ahead in the power unit wars and Ferrari being behind. And we'll also revisit some of our top Baku moments. We are an independent podcast produced in the podcasting shed with the kind support of our patrons and partners. We aim to bring you a race review before your Monday morning commute. We might be wrong, but we're first. I'm joined in the shed by a terrible, ghastly old man. It's Matt Trumpets. Hello, Matt.
That's not a straight. This This is a straight.
Oh, it's a big one, isn't it? It's a big one. It's a big one.
The longest full throttle stretch.
I had a board game, I don't know if anyone can remember it, where you could create your own Grand Prix track and it had lanes and you had to roll dice or something, or you had a certain amount of moves you could use. And like you'd come up with the most outrageous combinations. My dad would get bored because I think I did 10 hairpins in a row. Or you do what's the longest possible straight. And it's like someone did that with Baku. They went, what if it just keeps going?
Yeah, and it is. It's slightly longer than the one at Spa. And you'll be delighted to know I found a literal wall of numbers and statistics to really kick this show off properly, because I know you love that.
I can't wait. But just in case that's not as fascinating as you're making out, let's bring on Antonia Rankin as well, pit lane reporter and presenter. Hello, Antonia.
Hi. Sorry, I didn't prepare a witty one-liner, so glad you're feeling better, Spanners. Can't wait to argue with you.
Cat or dog?
Oh,
Cat or dog?
I think, oh God, I like dogs, not all dogs, and I think cats can be really mean and scary, and I don't like that you can't just cuddle them whenever you want to, you know. This is a complex stuff. Move forward, please, please.
To Baku! So, the Baku race, I really thought that was going to be a quick, snappy answer. Like, who sits on the fence on cats versus dogs? So, Baku is a strange one for me. At least it's interesting. At least it's got a feature. I don't know about any of the politics of the region or why there was fake fronts in the first year, but it has got some features that are unique on the F1 calendar, like that mega long straight, the castle right in the middle, in a really narrow, I think it's got the narrowest section of track on the F1 calendar as well as we approach that castle section. But the rest of the track is everything that's terrible about street circuits. Everything looks the same. It's very difficult to tell where you are on track, which is why this is one where you have to practice watching it. So it's worth tuning in for FP1, FP2, FP3 so that you can get in your mind where they are, because it's quite crucial to watching it. You'll be seeing them going through turns that all look the same. Oh, castle. And then suddenly turns that look the same. And you go, oh, no, now it's the big open straight. And it's actually very hard to tell when they start, when is that final corner that they're going onto this all-important back straight. So from my point of view, it's not one of my favorites. I can see why you'd have a place for this on the calendar, but it can really be a coin flip as to whether anything interesting happens. And it tends to come down to, at what point does someone crash into turn one? If they crash into turn one at a good spot, at a good time that shakes the action up or closes the grid up, it's good. But I think we've had about 50-50 with Baku races that have just been also very boring, just one-stoppers. Are you a fan, Antonia?
Yeah, I would actually argue that Baku, Monaco for its history and prestige, and this is controversial, but Jeddah are the three street circuits that actually warrant and deserve their place in Formula One and permanently on the calendar. I think that as a track, Baku is incredibly demanding of drivers. It's a very uniquely challenging circuit for all of the quick right-handers, the very, very big differences in speed, the high vertical load. I think it takes a lot from them. And I think it's always going to be an interesting race.
It's one of the best because the compromise between the long straight and the very slow middle section makes the setup very difficult. On top of it, you mentioned the high vertical loads. The rears are under a lot of traction, but the fronts can cool 40C going down that long straight into turn one along with the brakes. And so it makes the braking for turn one one of the more difficult jobs a Formula One driver has.
You can see that by the amount of errors that you see actually into turn one. And it's a bit like the Monaco turn one as well. I think there's one at turn 3 also where they have to have that payoff of they start to turn the corner and go, is it going to make it? Do I bail out now? Or do I go into the barrier?
Yeah, that's right. And that, again, is an interesting thing because of the 2 DRS zones. The second DRS zone leads you into turn 3. So if you make that pass into turn 1, the person you pass is very likely to be able to come back at you into, I think it's turn 3. I would want to look at the map now because it's been more than 5 or 10 minutes.
I can't believe you two have come so heavily down on the side of Baku.
Really? It's objectively a fun watch.
Okay.
If nothing else.
I mean, yeah, go on.
I just think in terms of the challenge that it poses to drivers, that's what makes it so fascinating because it's incredibly easy to overcook the rears with the vertical load coming into corners and compromise corner exit speed, which, as we know in Baku, is a primary area of gaining time.
Can I just check that I know what vertical load means?
Basically, if you're going super fast, which at Baku, for example, on the big straight, you're at nearing top speed, so you've got a lot of energy in the rear tyres. And that just means that if you overdo it coming into a corner, if you carry up too much speed, the way that the energy is transferred can be very detrimental to how you recover that speed coming out of a corner.
In essence, because you're going faster, you have more push down on the tire, so you have more vertical loading, and that's what Antonia was talking about.
Right, because there's more downforce from the air because you're going through more air quicker. All right,
and the starting pressures are almost road car. They're like 26 and 27. Now, they might come down on that once they see Friday practice data, but they might also go up. And I think that's maybe the highest starting minimum pressures I've ever seen in a Formula One race.
All right. Well, if I slag off a race, I get egg on my face. So if I go, look, expectation management, it's going to be dull. It's a 50-50 chance that this is just a boring procession. I get, the gods like to humiliate me. So hopefully I've jinxed it.
Well,
Sorry, Antonia. No, go on, Antonia.
No, what we see at Baku is that the asphalt isn't particularly grippy. It's quite an easy surface for the tyres. So especially with this generation of Pirellis, their graining isn't as bad as we saw, for example, last season when we had a one-stop race. So it's not just going to impact actually how the tyres perform, but also wider in the strategy of the race. I think that could be a really interesting element this year.
Yeah, and to carry on with that, they've also brought a softer, gone a step softer with the tires. So last year it was the 345, and that was, I think, maybe a bit of recency bias for all of us, minus the crash near the end. It was a very boring kind of a one-stop race we watched. And now they brought the softer tires with less graining. Potentially the two-stop is seriously in the mix, and it's going to be almost irresistible if there's like a mid-race safety car for people to chuck on a fresh set and go for it.
Right, there have been some good moments of Baku, I will concede, but there's drama at Baku as well. And so there's a lot of people asking, is this going to be the Rosberg-Hamilton moment? Is that coming for Norris and for Piastri? Whereas they nearly had it. They nearly had it in Canada, except it was definitely fully Norris's fault, and he immediately admitted it and said sorry, and everyone said, yeah, no worries, we accept your apology, that's fine. It's not exactly Prost Senna, is it? It's not exactly Schumacher charging down the pit lane to punch Coulthard, or Webber, whichever one it was. Coulthard, I think.
I just don't think we can use that as a reasonable critique of him as a driver and his performance. I especially think that a lot of the discourse online about drivers' personalities is completely irrelevant, given that we've never met them and we don't know them as people.
Don't ruin it. No, we've got a parasocial relationship.
I think that's the thing, in a very realistic way, even, for example, in like a few of our cases where we've met drivers, interviewed them, etc., doesn't mean that we know them as people or we know how they are as athletes, for example.
You're saying me and Jensen aren't legit bezies?
I would love to be bezies. I would.
Me and Juan Pablo connected over having teenagers. I don't think
it's a reasonable critique at all. And you can say that, Lando has been quite overtly emotion-led in the way that he speaks, but I don't think that's a legitimate criticism of how he drives on track. I mean, Oscar Piastri is quite a withdrawn socially person, and he's an absolute menace. It doesn't make much difference.
Okay, but look, compare that to the teammates crashing in, I think it was 2018, Verstappen, Ricciardo. That was a really pivotal moment there. Like, the team fell apart around that, basically, when Ricciardo didn't get support, and it was blatantly Verstappen's fault. Oh, we could play Whose Fault Is It? But go back and watch it. If you weren't watching at the time, go back and watch Ricciardo versus Verstappen Baku crash, and you'll see that it was really like Ricciardo selling a dummy round the outside, which Verstappen was like, yeah, fair enough, I'll go and defend that. Ricciardo, like he was really good at doing, switches to the inside, and in the braking zone, Verstappen just goes, nah, comes across, cuts the front out of him, takes away his clean air, and they end up having a crash.
And I love it for that exact reason, because it was so demonstrable how important the aerodynamics were to the braking performance of the car. And that was such a fantastic demonstration of it. But I also am going to be very boring and agree with you. I really do think that was the start of Ricciardo's decision to try and find a new team, because in the aftermath, I mean, I think he saw what happened with him and Vettel. And I think he knew very clearly how the team operated, and he could just see getting second choice parts all season long. Maybe not to the extent that Albon and Gasly and Tsunoda have gotten, but I think the writing was on the wall there. You're correct.
Yeah. I think that's still more fun than, oh, my bad. Sorry about that. Yeah, no bother, mate. Yeah. And I think we can judge them. I think Antonia is wrong. The views of Antonia do not represent those of Missed Apex. We can sit on our sofas, pretend we know them well, and make judgments on them.
The thing, I think that's valid, wanting big reactions from drivers just for entertainment value. I agree. However, that's the exact same thing that a lot of new fans get criticized for wanting the drive to survive type action in the sport. Yeah. And people will go, no, it's not a movie. This is a real sport. It's not just for entertainment. I agree. I want the sport I'm watching to be changeable and to be unpredictable and exciting. I think that's not a controversial thing to say at all.
I'm torn on it. Like, really, we're in the wrong positions. I'm the
not to the point of artifice.
I'm the curmudgeonly old man here. I should be the one going, oh, all these stuff. But yeah, you do get sucked in by the drama, and because F1 have gone out of their way to make these people personalities, and then, you know, I grew up in an era where, yeah, they did go down the pit lane and punch each other. You kind of go, oh, it's a bit different. And it's an anti-climax because you can't possibly recreate the drama that they put across on Drive to Survive. But I digress. So there's some other key moments I want to remind you and me of at Baku. Oh, yeah. So was it 2021? They had tyre blowouts and then Lewis Hamilton brake magic. So was this because of the lower pressures, Matt?
No, actually, there was a very interesting and declarative technical directive specifically concerning the tires, and not just the pressures, but the sense that the teams were somehow keeping the pressures from rising after the tires were heating up. But what that meant was the carcass lacked enough rigidity to manage the energy being put through them laterally and vertically. So, you know, as we also saw at Silverstone, they gave out. And so, sorry, was that just too much of a wall of information for people?
I want to go back and listen to it, and I want you guys to keep talking about it. It's just they caught my face. I just zoned out. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But no, that plays into what we were just saying about the rear tyres being overcooked by the vertical forces. They need to withstand so much energy through them. And that's why it's very easy to completely screw up going into a corner, compromise on exit speed, or just not make it around the corner.
Yeah, and that did lead to a late race restart. I think was it Perez and Lewis at the front, and it was a standing start. And they had to do the safety car lap round to the grid, and famously, one of those things that you really regret later on, he just forgot to turn the brake magic off.
So the brake magic, if I remember it rightly, was basically you had all the brake bias towards the front brakes, so that as you were braking on the warm-up lap, you were getting heat into your front tires, ready for that restart, and you go, oh my goodness. So yeah, obviously that's a big fluff, big error, but stop laughing at my pain, Antonia. God, that hurt.
I will say, like, coming on relatively sporadically, I've enjoyed watching your background change from Mercedes, etc., just to gradually becoming more red.
More Ferrari.
And that's so cemented by your reaction there. I actually felt your pain a little bit. I almost feel sympathetic.
Oh, I've adapted very well to being a Ferrari fan, and
How does it feel to not be on the podium ever? Is that nice? Is that fun?
China was kind of good for a little while. do you remember? Do you remember China? I remember China. Okay, so but that brake magic, that was obviously horrible. But I think the more interesting thing to remember from that period was the two lap shootout for the red flag. And at this time, there was that we can't finish under a safety car. We want the thing to finish green if possible. That was mostly from Spa. I think that was mostly from Spa, that argument, because they finished, under the safety car, only did 2 laps and then handed out half points. And I know that kind of got used as a defense of why they got the race going as quickly as possible in Abu Dhabi in 2021. But they did a couple of these shootouts, if I'm remembering correctly. And I really thought, Matt, that was going to lead to this trigger finger. As soon as there's an incident near the end, boom, for the entertainment, red flag, quick sprint at the end, let's go. But it hasn't really materialized. We've had quite a lot of safety car finishes since 2021.
Yeah, I think because the obvious disadvantages of it made themselves excessively apparent at the end of 2021. So there is a balancing line. And I think if race control has enough time to figure it out, they might say, oh, if an incident happens with 10 laps left and they're like, oh, well, it's going to take 7 laps to clear this. They might choose to pause the race and restart it. But on the whole, I think they'd rather let things play out a little more organically these days. I don't know. It's a pendulum. It goes back and forth. And no matter what you do, someone's going to be very unhappy about it.
No,
it's an impossible difference to strike, really, isn't it? You have to prioritize safety, but if that's at the cost of the spectacle, no one's going to be happy. But would you be happy to watch a driver have a very serious accident right in front of you? No. Who would be to blame? Them. It's literally impossible. And I think working inside it and having experienced watching horrible crashes, as a fan, it's impossible to not be frustrated seeing all of the action halted.
I've seen
you have to take it with a pinch of salt and critical thinking, I think.
I know you don't like being reminded of this, but I remember a safety car and flags not being thrown out quickly enough for you having an accident in a go-kart, and I was going crazy at the staff trying to get them. And engine mode 11 pulled his car alongside what I thought was possibly your corpse at the time to stop other cars barreling down the hill and hitting you. But yeah, so I'm definitely not, because I think, let's get young Antonia over go-karts. It'll be great fun. Oh my God, she's dead.
And I've never karted again.
Have you not? Have you never karted again? Oh, no. Antonia was like, I wasn't unconscious, and then I showed you the video. It was like, and I sent you the video. It was called Antonia Ragdoll. Anyway, so I'm not against safety in any way. So yeah, have your safety car. The thing I object to is it isn't bad for the race to just end. If there's a safety car 3 laps before the end and you can't get the race restarted, that's kind of dramatic in itself. Like, just that's where the race ended. And especially if you look at something like Abu Dhabi, where it was those 3 laps weren't going to be exciting. They weren't going to be a thrilling 3 laps that we were robbed of by the safety car. And therefore, if it had just played out, it would have been fine. And you'd have gone, yeah, that safety car, that was dramatic. It brought it to an end. All the drama was at the beginning of the race. As the safety car's coming around, you talk about Perez' great attempts and everything, and you go, oh yeah, that's great. And then you commentate on it, and it's away. So when they sort of slightly abandoned, I think, this red flag shootout format, I think that's for the best. If you get a safety car near the end, that's just the end of the race, like you do in all other forms of motorsport. So we've got a question here from Mike in the Discord, our Patreon Discord, patreon.com/MrApex. Loads of new patrons this week. I don't know what it is that I said to make that happen, but whenever we get like a flood of new people, it's always we can continue, because people leave, people come in, people come and go. $5 a month to join us in the Patreon Discord, be part of the community, and help us swing around with the big boys in the iTunes charts. Mike says, who goes into the wall first this weekend? And I feel like we've had it answered by Jason in the Discord as well. Stroll crashed during the 2021 Azerbaijan Grand Prix due to a tyre failure, had 2 separate crashes during the 2022 qualifying sessions, also made contact with another driver during the 24 Azerbaijan Grand Prix. I think it might be Stroll.
I am going to do an unpopular opinion where I think there's a very high likelihood that it's Charles. He has an exceptional qualifying record at Azerbaijan, as we know. He also is known to not necessarily approach difficult corners in the correct way when under a lot of pressure. The team are in a very critical point in the championship right now, where if McLaren outscore them, by 9 points this weekend, McLaren win the championship. Mr. Ferrari, Charles Leclerc, is going to be feeling that the most. And I think there's going to be a very high likelihood that he parks it in a wall just because he pushes it a little bit too far in qualifying.
Au contraire, if he gets his 5th straight pole here and doesn't win, he owns a bad record ties a very bad record of that many poles without ever winning. So I agree. He is a candidate to put it in the wall, but for a completely different reason.
Say that again. His 5th what?
Qualifying, where he's been on pole without turning it into a...
He's literally been on pole for 4 straight years.
In Azerbaijan?
Yeah.
Yep.
How have I missed that? That's incredible.
Yes, he was on pole before him, in 2019.
It's in the notes, man.
In 2019.
He was last on pole before Charles.
Bottas.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
So if he does come in to replace Russell, wouldn't that be great?
Oh, I know. We
that
can't
would
really.
be fun.
By the time anyone listens to this, I think we'll have the news of whether Russell. I hope he gets his better and takes part in FP1, FP2. But I had a little side bet with myself that Bottas would go better than Antonelli this weekend if he substitutes in.
That's not a controversial thing to say,
Isn't
though.
it? Okay, good.
You know.
I think Bottas, pretty good, pretty underrated. Feel like he was unlucky. But anyway, we're not going to go down a Bottas path. Remind me of the path that we were on. Qualifying, yeah. So I missed that he's had the last 4 poles. That's pretty good going. I mean, it's not like he's not good. So when was the I am stupid driving into the castle incident? Was that in a practice session then?
I want to say 2021 or 2022.
But still got a pole. So I know it wasn't during a race, though, I don't think. Or was it? Come on, tell us live chat.
Yeah.
Was the I am stupid into the... Or was that this one that was just a scream? Yeah. So Leclerc fans always get on us, by the way, when we talk about the large amount of practice crashes he has, because they say, well, he hasn't had them for a long time. I would like to see the stats and see, of the top drivers, does he have a disproportionate amount of practice crashes? My instinct is yes, that it's less, though, than it was before. But I did see a stream of his. Someone replayed a clip where he was on the stream. He was going around the Baku circuit in an F1 car, hits the castle section, exactly the same place, and he just looks over and he goes, oh no, the chat's going to go mad. There you go.
Oh, it was 2019. The I am stupid.
2019. There we go. Yeah, and so George Russell was not feeling well, and that's why he's missed the media day. But by the time you listen to this, he may well be back on track. The last Baku moment I want to talk about is the Hamilton-Vettel one. So I can't remember what year that was either, but that must have been maybe 2018. Yeah, because Ferrari was competitive.
Wasn't it their first year there?
16 or 17, I thought.
I thought 17 was the first year they went to Baku.
Yeah, I'd say it was 17 then, because it definitely felt like they were battling in the championship at that point. And so you had Lewis Hamilton, may or may not have slowed down at a pace that surprised Sebastian Vettel. And then he just does like the dumbest thing. Like you can see he's lost his head. And this is the opposite of Lando Norris doing that and going, oh, sorry, my bad, and everyone forgiving him. Drove alongside Hamilton and I mean, they're going at slow speeds. No one was going to die from that incident. But I'm going to use my car I'm going to hit you with my car. And he just did. But it's the doubling down for me, because on the radio, they say, you got a 10-second penalty for dangerous driving. When did I do dangerous driving? Was his answer. When you deliberately drove your car into someone because you were upset. And then they were trying to interview him after the incident. And he was running away. He was literally running away from reporters. Not Sebastian Vettel's finest hour, Matt.
No. In fact, the only thing I can think of that parallels it would be the Verstappen-Russell thing at Barcelona, where the driver absolutely loses his head and just does something that, you would expect maybe in a junior karting series, but certainly not at that level.
No, it's rare, thankfully. And you see it in every series, grown men getting a little bit grumpy in the car. The issue is at that speed, if you get grumpy in the car, it can be fatal. And luckily, I feel like that's something that's quite well policed generally from race to race. Dangerous driving is generally, they're quite tight on it, opposed to other penalty-causing incidents. But you see it in every series. It's important to eradicate it where you can. And thankfully, it does not happen very often.
That flash to bang, though, when something happens like that. And I get it in iRacing. So, we've got our iRacing round 3 of the championship on tomorrow. So we've got practice session tonight on Thursday and Friday, 8 p.m. Maybe too late to get involved in this one, but do email us racecontrol@missedapex.net if you want to get involved. When I do the official races, like outside of Missed Apex, I have to disable my mic, because if someone chinned it up the inside of me yesterday in the F4, put me out and damaged me, and I had to limp home and lost a couple of places. And he put in the chat, sorry, it was netcode. Like he was blaming. No, you didn't. You punted me from about 5 meters back. And I was like, thank God I disabled my mic, because I go, obviously on the missed Apex ones, I'm in Spanner's mode, so I'm a delight.
I will say, in my personal experience working with drivers who are you guys' age, drivers who are 30, 20, and then literal teenagers in the Ginetta Junior Championship. Mind you, they're obviously shooting for F1, so they're quite nice people. But I have never seen anything but pretty spotless driving ethic from these literally 14, 15-year-olds. And the older you get and the more gentleman driver you get, the grumpier they are and the more, I guess, the more spanners they are.
Wow. I mean, fair, but geez.
You just said.
Yeah, no, but you should be like, no, you must be exaggerating. I'm not.
No, I don't lie.
Matt, lie to me.
I will lie to you and say I think a lot of the reason you see that is from a psychological performance point of view. It's very important to not, in a Leclerc fashion, always blame yourself for those sorts of incidents. And if you're, I mean, really, and I used to race bicycles and like real races with people who raced in the Tour de France and stuff like that. So I've been around people at that level. And you reach a certain point of adrenaline exhaustion where you just have very little left to restrain yourself. So, I mean, the thing that amazes me about Formula One is how many people are still willing to hit the radio button and then express it.
Yeah. We've got Mark now. Mark in the chat says, hot take, I'm not convinced Seb did it on purpose. Now, I've met Mark at our karting events, and I just have to say, like, Mark, you are too good a person. You're too good for this earth. Stop yelling at him in the chat, okay? He's just saying it because he's trying to assign good intentions. But no, to me, that was a clear case of doubling down. But yeah, I think you're right, Matt. Like, you can't all the time blame yourself as a top athlete. You might not be able to have to vocalize it, but you have to do a kind of the bit of the principal Skinner and go, maybe it's the children that are wrong, just to give yourself that belief to keep going.
I will say, in my experience, it is the good drivers that blame themselves. It's the drivers who come in P3 after, like, not their best race, but they're normally winning everything. They go, I just wasn't good enough. I did this wrong. I did this wrong. I did this wrong. And in my experience, by naming it, they're a lot better at acting on the areas that they at least can prevent. Because, you know, if you get punted turn one, there's nothing you can do about that per se. But if you're finishing the race in an unsavory position, and the drivers are getting out of the car going, actually, I was horrible. I did an awful job. It doesn't make for good TV, by the way.
No.
If I'm going, no, it's okay. You were okay.
But
also, they are the best drivers because they're introspective enough to understand that racing well is within their own control.
It's harder to listen to the people who blame themselves and who are emotionally mature like that. Like, it's harder to listen to Hamilton going, well, I must just be slow. Oh, I just had a terrible day. And Norris being all self-deprecating. It's easier to listen to Alonso going, this 19th place, it was the greatest race that anyone has ever had. And you go, okay, like BS and you're wrong, but that's easier to listen to. You know, Senna never admitted fault. There we go. All right. Pick your poison. Which one do you prefer? Matt, you promised to bore me with some stats about the preview. I think we'll move on to like previewing this year's race.
Okay, so that's fine. We already mentioned the tire selection is softer, and as Antonia very aptly noted, the tires being less resistant to graining means that sort of your nailed-on winning strategy, probably from Pirelli, is going to be a one-stop, the C4 going to the C5, which would be the medium. No, the other way around, 5 to the 4, the medium to the hard, which we saw exactly at Monza. But a 20-second pit delta means that you've got a possibility of going for that second stop because you have the long DRS zones. Overtaking is not impossible here. And if there is graining, and it is supposed to be cool this weekend, suddenly a two-stop could actually outperform the one-stop. And we've seen that happen, I believe, maybe at Canada as well, which featured a similar selection of tires. Everyone sort of thought one stop, and then everyone actually went two stops. So there's some strategic excitement already to look at this weekend. And I think the other thing that's going to be interesting for me personally is how well the Red Bull does, because they're 2/3 of the track is their wheelhouse. 1/3 of the track, or actually more like probably 67%, of the track is very not in their wheelhouse. So interesting to see how the updates fare at not so great section for them.
And that's a really important point to bring up, given that this is quite a long lap at Baku. It's in the 140s.
Yeah, it's only 54 lap race, I think.
51.
51. Oh, right. Okay.
But if you say, okay, a third of the track isn't within your scope of doing incredibly well, that's actually quite a lot of seconds. And for me, it's going to be all eyes on quali, because like I said, if you're dropping on some very key areas, you can be fast on that one straight. But if you're coming into turn 1 too hot, if you're coming into turn 3, turn 15 too hot, you're going to have a really hard time picking that speed back up, trying to recover from a very aggressive corner. So qualifying is really where we're going to see the true strengths and weaknesses of the cars. And going into the race, that's going to be incredibly important.
Is there a room for a gamble, though? If people are going to be going for track position, is there room for someone to go, right, let's close up our cooling, let's rip a bit of wing off here? And
no, because if you do that at Baku, you're in the wall. You go straight on when you need to have done a right-hand turn.
I mean, the calculus is how much lap time do I lose through the castle section, essentially about turn 3 to about turn 16, versus how much time do I gain down the straight. And now you ask for interesting facts that probably nobody knows. Here's one for you.
I didn't ask.
And it only involves a few numbers, so you'll be happy. This is actually the track with the highest amount of braking energy.
Oh.
For the whole year, there's over 10 braking events that are more than 2G, and 2 of them last a half a second or more.
And for me, this is what's going to be interesting for the power units of next year, removing altogether a lot of the energy recovery system, which at the moment is where the bulk of the power of the car comes from. So when we talk about the power unit of a Formula One car, yeah, we've got the internal combustion engine, but there's 2 very key areas of energy recovery: the kinetic energy recovery system. So like Matt just said, heavy braking harvested there, or the MGUH, which is where the turbine's spinning because you're going super fast. You'll see that at Hungaroring, for example, at its peak. And by removing the MGUH, that's removing a huge part of the recovery of the car, where at a track like Baku,
oh my God,
the teams are going to be quite reliant on it.
They're going to is this one of the ones where they might just stop down the straights?
Monza, I think there's too many turns at Baku. There's like 20 turns,
right,
so you're not going to have that. But along the lines of that, the energy mapping is also going to be key, because do you choose to deploy as soon as you get beyond your traction limit, exiting turn 16, acceleration to build a gap, or do you try and save it and then deploy it near the end so people trying to make the DRS or in the tow can't quite get around you? So we could see some different strategies playing out. Like if you add a little downforce, you can gain time through there. And if you start with the acceleration, they're not going to catch you by the end, versus people who are like, oh yeah, top speed, baby, here I come.
And that's why it's going to be important to use the slipstream on that straight. It's going to be incredibly powerful through the race and, yes, in qualifying. Because if you're coming in with a relatively high downforce car, which you can fairly expect at Baku, you're going to really struggle on the straights if you haven't got the balance exactly correct. Because you don't want a huge amount of drag on this ridiculously long punt through. So if you're punching the hole in the air yourself, you're going to have quite a hard time with drag.
1.6 kilometers? Is it the straight? I don't remember.
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah. Just a quick note there. You said DRS. There's no DRS next year, is there?
No, because we have is it Z mode instead, where both the front and rear wings will be open all the time because of aforesaid lack of energy balance in the power unit.
Z? Who's Z? Zed's dead, baby. Zed's dead. There is a interesting traffic picture. I know it's old, but for the residents of Azerbaijan, of Baku, it must be very frustrating. It looks like it's a really busy junction, that turn 1, and there's like big traffic. Where the paddock is now, that's also lanes of traffic, and then obviously down the main pit straight. And then it must be frustrating for the residents just to see people flying through there. Like, I can never get off at Tollgate towards the big Sainsbury's. So if I saw Formula One cars there breaking down into 4th gear and just chucking it in and heading down towards Lexington, I'd be really annoyed. Right, who's gonna be competitive then here in Azerbaijan? Basically, the big question for me is is it going to be a McLaren 1-2? So as I think Hayden pointed out in the chat, will McLaren try to make any changes to increase their top speed, because they've been at the back of the speed traps all season, and they do tend to favour the tracks like Saudi Arabia with the big flip-flops, Matt. So are they going to struggle here?
Less so than at Monza, because you do have a lot more of the track that's in their wheelhouse. Now, there's a lot of very, very slow speed turns here. A remarkable number are like 110 kph or less, like for a second gear. That's not going to help the Red Bull, but it's going to be, I think, reasonably good for the McLaren. So you could see a surprise team, someone very good at low speed handling that also is reasonably efficient in a straight line. So you could talk about Williams a little bit.
Williams, Haas?
Williams, definitely. Haas, they're always 50-50 with their drivers. So yeah, maybe. They did well at Spa with their low downforce package. So yeah, no, that's a good shout, actually.
No, I completely agree. Low speed handling ability is going to be absolutely key. And I think that's what's going to separate drivers within teams in actually how they approach the corners, how they're setting out the car. Because it's not easy, especially if you've got a balanced car. Even if you say there's a level playing field there, it's a certain type of finesse that not a lot of drivers do have. And I think we're going to see Max Verstappen, the McLaren drivers, Charles Leclerc, really take a step up. I think Lewis could have a weekend to remember. I'm touching grass. I'm touching grass.
He can't brake. He can't brake in that car. It doesn't matter. As soon as you're like,
he's going to have to figure it out because Charles can.
Yeah, then Charles will be the one to win if Ferrari's good. Like, everything for me is parked. Like, I'm so despondent. Everything for me is parked with Lewis until next season. Like, you said all those big braking zones. He can't get that car stopped this season the same way that Leclerc can.
Yeah, but like turn 1, for example, is also a huge lift and coast for precisely the reason the brakes and the tires both start to fall out of the window. And it's a good energy saver as well. So yeah, maybe the other thing is, like, if you get your brake cooling a little bit wrong, you not only are at risk of overheating your brakes, you're also at risk of taking your tires out of the window. So it's really a double whammy here. It's quite a challenge for the engineers, I'll say.
Sue just points out, Antonia, that weekend to remember could mean peak or trough. So it could just be like the absolute worst weekend. Jason says, Antonia has an incredible understanding of how an F1 car works. It's impressive. So that is one positive comment for you, Antonia. A new personal best.
No, but going back to what Matt's saying, if brake cooling is going to be a problem, then it's a bit of a catch-22. You're going to need fresh air running through the car, aka not using the very powerful and very useful slipstream. Hence why I think there's a few drivers that will really be able to stand out owing to that little t-shirt in your background there, Spanners. Bortoletto could have a pretty good weekend as well. Hadjar, I think, will do well. It's the younger drivers who have got a bit more of that karting instinct still in them.
Can I just be very clear that the Sauber shirt that I've got in the background, it hasn't got a number on it, but that is a Hulkenberg shirt in my heart. I'm just saying. I'm not a fan of Bortoletto, and I haven't got good reasons or justifications for it yet, but I'm just sowing the seeds of me not liking him, and I'm just going to let them grow. But Hulkenberg, big fan. You have to have villains in F1. You can't just like everyone.
I like everyone though.
That's not how watching sport works. Like
I don't get that joy that I feel like I get a lot more out of. I think especially once you're working in the sport, you get all of the bias kind of beaten out of you.
I hate that.
But you genuinely, I love an underdog. I think it would be great if Isaac could get another podium. I think he could reasonably do so given how strong that the V-carb is. I think Max could do well. I think he is a bit of an underdog at the moment. So for him to get a win would be also entertaining.
Max, he just won the last race by 20 seconds in a rocket ship.
How many other races has he won this year?
7. Oh, I took a punt. I don't know. But has he not won a few? Has he not won a few this year?
Not as many as McLaren have.
Nowhere close.
Just to end on the sporty thing, right? Like me and my son, we were watching ladies singles at the Seoul. So like, it didn't seem like a very big tournament. There wasn't many people in the crowd. So put on a random match. And I'm saying to my son, like, which one of these do we hate? Like, who are we wishing ill on? Like, oh, look at her. Who does she think she is? And then we cheer on the other one as the underdog. That's what sport is. Or put money on it. A safe amount of money.
You know what I saw someone do?
Go on.
I saw these girls in America with NFL teams, and they said, right, who are we supporting this year? They put all of the names of the teams in a hat, and the last one in there was who they support. And I honestly think I'm going to do that next season with F1. Just give me something to like cling on to, feel the triumphs and tribulations that Ferrari fans feel all the time.
Chat saying that you would have supported the Mighty Ducks. I don't think the Mighty Ducks were underdogs in the end. I don't think they were. No, I don't think they were. They went out and they played a street team. That just shows what like a big deal they'd become. Anyway, that franchise spiraled towards the end. Let's go back to Formula One. I think that's all the Baku stuff, Matt. I think I would like to get onto some of the news stories to finish on.
Sure. Sounds good to me. I feel like you've been very kind to let us get all the engineering in.
That's all right. That was time where I didn't have to listen. Big dirty news. No, you two are all over the tech. That is, it's very good to have that. It's like it's not that I hate the tech stuff or anything. It's just that it's very hard work. And why would I do that when I've got the likes of you and Antonia and Summers who'll do all that hard work for me? But yeah, some interesting news stuff at the moment. I think that the biggest one is the sprint calendar being released alongside the announcement that they're having serious conversations about 2027 and talking about reverse grids and more sprint races. So the reverse grids, I think, is specifically an option for the sprint races. I don't think anyone's suggesting that the Grand Prix would be subject to sprint races, to reverse grids. And I'm really, really hoping that no one is talking about reversing the order. So the Grand Prix being on Sunday and being its kind of 90 minutes and its set kind of kilometers is an absolute staple of the sport. Then I'll start jumping up and down. I'm open-minded enough, though, to tinker with the format. I'm not precious about the points. I'm not precious about the regulations. I've got my own preferences on them, but I don't think they're set in stone, that they can't ever change. And I'm open to sprint races because I just see the tide of where it's going, and I see that they can't say no to the figures because a sprint race just gets more viewing figures than a free practice session. The writing was on the wall when those first viewing figures came through after the first couple of sprint races. So it's going that way. I'm surprised it's taken them this long to get more sprint races in, but please, just leave the Sunday format alone. There are other series, like our iRacing series, where we'll have a feature race followed by a sprint. Yeah. And so the feature race, everyone's fighting for the big points. And then we go, yay, there you go. You won the feature race. You're great. Then we have the sprint, where like we have for 40 car grid sometimes. So the top 20 will then be a reverse. And that works quite well for us. For the sprint, you won't have that race previously to set the grid. So I just want my big beef at the moment is people constantly commenting, yeah, but you can't set the sprint race based on the sprint qualifying because people will just deliberately go slowly. And I just see so many people typing this. It's like, yes, we know. Everybody knows that you're not going to set a race based on a qualifying that you could just go and tank. So please stop saying that. We all know. I have not heard one person suggest that they should go out and do a sprint qualifying and then do the reverse of that sprint qualifying. You'd have to take them by surprise, wouldn't you? You'd have to go, it's a reversey one. You just flip a coin to see which way it would go. But yeah, obviously it would have to be decided by the reverse of something else, championship order being. So, and you don't have to do it for every single position as well. You can do top 10. You can do top 5. The thing is that you can't just reject and grumble every single change that's coming along, unless it's the thing that I'm passionate about, which is the Sunday format. Matt, I've waffled enough there, but yeah, lots of serious suggestions. I think Antonia's actually being very patient as well. Sorry, I waffled. I went off on one. Sorry. It's my show. I'm the best one.
Okay, and you continue to, so I'm going to cut you off right there. I understand the obstinacy regarding certain changes to the sport because F1 is F1. If you change it too much, it's no longer F1. I've had a bit of a gripe with some of the comments that I believe Domenicali has allegedly said about attention spans not being enough, people not wanting to watch practice. I work in endurance racing, right? People love a 24-hour race, but it's a different sport, right? So if you make F1 shorter, it's not quite F1 anymore. And there's nothing wrong with people's attention spans. People don't watch practice because it's on a Friday and they're employed. That's why the figures are lower. You'll stop work to watch a sprint race or sprint qualifying because it's worth watching per se. Making a spectacle out of every aspect of the sport dilutes the real spectacle, which in my opinion is the race on Sunday. Now, when it comes to a reverse grid, I've worked with drivers and in series that have had a success penalty, where basically they'll have to do a longer pit stop or XYZ on race day because they won the previous race. And they get annoyed enough at that because it de-incentivizes success. And yes, it would throw a spanner and forgive the pun, and throw an interesting element into a race weekend. I don't doubt that, but it's not F1. And I quite like F1 the way it is. And if viewer numbers are falling, maybe it's because people don't want to pay the price to watch behind a paywall. Maybe people are watching the highlights because it's free.
That's me clapping. By the way. Yeah.
You'd have a point, I think, with the highlights. And I'm actually always surprised that they haven't taken the very obvious step of editing together a 30 or 60 minute race for free to air to bring more people into the sport. It seems like it's cheap and easy
Channel 4 does
advertising.
that.
Maybe YouTube and stuff now.
No,
makes
Channel 4 does
true.
that in the UK, right?
They do?
Yeah, I think Channel 4 does that. UK viewers who don't watch on Sky, the Channel 4 do like an extended highlights. That used to always be the case. But yeah, I think, paywall is always going to put people off, and Sky is incredibly expensive.
It really is.
If it wasn't for F1, I wouldn't have it. Now that I have to have it for F1, I'll use it with other things and watch other things on it. But it's something like £70 a month or something crazy. I can't remember what it is, but it's a big gulp for essentially just wanting to watch Formula One on it. And that's how they get you. That is their plan. They did the same thing. But, you're taking Formula One away from future generations as well. So if this had happened in the 90s, if it was like this in the 90s, I wouldn't be an F1 fan now. So, they took boxing away. They took cricket away from the generation just ahead of me. But, football as well. If F1 had been behind a paywall when I was a kid, I would have just been happy just watching Trans World Sport. And I'd be a big Kabaddi fan right now. Kabaddi. This would be the number one Kabaddi podcast.
There's a reason MMA is more popular than boxing now. And it's not just the marketing. It's because people could watch it for free a lot. And boxing, I watched that happen in my lifetime. You would see the biggest prize fights on free-to-air TV. And then it went to being like, oh, you might as well go to the venue because you're paying more for your pay-per-view than you would for an actual ticket at the event. So it's mad. But I will be a traditionalist here and say reverse grids of any kind that have any impact on the championship just are not going to fly with me. So I've actually come up with my second super clever idea. First being a sprint tire that no one gets to run until they actually are in the race, and engineered to be just on the bubble maybe of getting to the sprint distance. But I think this one's even better. If you make a pit stop during a sprint race, you get a joker lap that makes the effective pit stop 5 seconds or less.
Oh, so you can take a
shortcut of the track if you make a pit stop, and you only lose, say, 3 to 5 seconds. I think that could make it interesting because at the end of the day, the problem is just a lack of action because the cars are all sort of too close together and there's not enough time to get into the margins of tires.
I don't know.
Degrading.
In Monaco, the driver's being told, yeah, you can take a shortcut through the marina now because it's your joker lap. I don't want to. 3 cars ahead of me did it and they exploded in the water. You have to change all the tracks to incorporate joker laps in there. But yeah.
Actually, at the sprint tracks, I think most of them you could probably find. A lot of tracks have short configurations you could use anyway.
Throwing in some kind of thing like that is very Formula E. I quite like Formula E for what it is, but F1 fans don't like it because they watch it expecting it to be F1. Stuff like that. People call it Mario Kart. I think it's entertaining, but it's not Formula One. Revisiting the idea of a reverse grid, any kind of penalizing success. F1 kind of already do this to the teams with wind tunnel testing and budget caps. There is already millions of pounds difference between coming in first and coming in second in terms of how much you're allowed to spend the following year. Obviously, for the top teams, this makes a big difference because they can treat the budget cap as their budget for the season, whereas the lower teams don't have hundreds of millions to spend. There's already some kind of towards the
Success
end of the
balanced,
season,
yeah.
teams go, actually, we'll accept that we're in P8 rather than pushing for P7, P6, because we get more wind tunnel testing time. There's not a lot between us anyway, and it will give us the advantage next year. They've already given us a little bit of the, here, if you don't do well, we'll give you a leg up next time.
Yeah, so they already have some success ballast, so people can't get too
and I don't
precious.
think it's made a huge either controversy or huge noticeable difference.
I do think teams are tanking, so I do think that's happened. Like we predicted at the beginning of the season that a team might do it, and you look at Alpine and you go, I think Alpine might have done it.
You've also named the team likely to do worse because of their sad power unit, so well done.
Is that what we're calling it? The sad power unit? Alpine?
Yeah,
I thought they had the Mercedes.
Next season they do.
Oh, right.
This season they do not. But I would disagree with Antonia only to the extent when Red Bull got the penalty for going over the cost cap that cost them additional wind tunnel time. I think we did see an impact from that. But the larger lesson is it needs to be more severe, the scale, in order to have the effect that was intended. But good luck getting any of the teams to agree to it because they all think they'll be the ones in first place.
Go on.
And this is the thing, you have to rely on teams being able to accept that they're coming in their drivers are coming in P10 in order to want to then be in P1 if there is a reverse grid. And I don't think you're going to get that very easily from a lot of the teams because all of these regulations that could in theory very badly affect them, they have to sign off on. It's kind of a flawed system.
Okay, I'm going to make the case for reverse grids for sprint races using championship order, either the top 10 or top 20 reversed. The main argument I'm going to use is that there's going to be more sprint races. They're putting them in places like Miami and in Singapore next year. Who signed that off? Singapore sprint race. Right, you get through the Singapore Grand Prix weekend. You don't want another race. So the case I'm going to make is these sprint races are boring and you've got to do something. And given that we're going to have like 12 of them, let's do something. Reverse grid. And I don't think it's anti-competition because every car is having to fight equally at the back. So if you're one of the top two cars, both those top two cars are having to fight equally through the back of the grid. And oh no, you're going to have to overtake for once. Just race.
One, yes, you could pay me enough money to defend Singapore as a decent sprint choice.
God.
Two, if we're going to have reverse grids, first of all, it's going to be reverse 22. Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry, America.
Because
sorry, eagerly.
I think 10 is worse because you really do get into points that could affect the championship. But at 22, you've got a lot of the back and midfield teams at the front, and it's less likely you're going to see the leaders scoring a significant amount of points from there.
Points all the way down.
So I if I had to live with it, I'd say the whole grid, not just half of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Go on.
I think the top 10 is a nice way to go. I agree. It kind of falls a little bit short of doing much. But if that means that we've got Williams starting in P1, I actually think that really presents an interesting alternative. And also, for anyone who is quite a critic of sprint races, given how many we're going to have, I think it's reasonable to say, okay, in those sprint races, we'll switch it up then. Because a lot of the criticism of sprint races comes from that it makes the race itself predictable. Well, let's get rid of that then.
What if we did a reverse driver standings rather than reverse team standings? That could be a little more interesting.
Oh, I would have thought it would definitely have been the driver's standings. But what if you made it the reverse 15 of the previous Grand Prix? Because then in the previous Grand Prix, you're going to have teams fighting tooth and nail for that coveted 15th spot. Like, we've come to blows in our championship over the 20th spot. It suddenly becomes the most important midfield position. And you go, okay, you thought that was descending into a boring race? Well, now you've got P16 and P15 battling for the reverse sprint pole in the following Grand Prix.
I mean, it could be interesting going from weekend to weekend like that, but then there is the consideration that a lot of teams will do really well one weekend and then not have the car the following weekend.
Oh, yeah. That's more chaos.
So with a completely different setup, I don't think that would work.
Okay, I'm just going to answer a couple of the comments that we've had in the chat here. So Matt, different Matt, says, Spanner saying all other forms of motorsport are fine ending under the safety car. except for NASCAR, where 2 more laps of green flag racing will be tacked on forever until there's no more cars left. That was a killer match. Do you remember that we had an extra hour and a half watching an Xfinity race? And it's like, it would have been better for the race to have just finished under the safety car. This alternate that you have offered is awful. It was Watkins Glen, wasn't it?
It was Watkins Glen, and I think it was Zilich who wound up winning that one. And we had literally thrown in the proverbial tower towel, and we were going back to the media center to get our stuff, and the race finished. Yeah. It was like that kind of it was miserable. And you begin to understand why, like, the infinite overtimes you used to have in soccer or football and football.
I mean, by the way, I'm enjoying NASCAR. I enjoy sitting and watching a NASCAR race, but it's a good example of a sport twisting itself up in knots between the pure entertainment and the pure sporting side of it, and it's probably leaned over with the the stage racing. So, you know, if it gets boring in a Formula One race, the NASCAR model would go, okay, we get it. You're Leclerc's leading. Okay, you'll get points, some points for this part of the race, but we're going to deliberately back you up. Couple of laps behind the safety car, then get going again, and then you pick up these stage points, and then you get the big points at the end of the race. Kind of works well for NASCAR. Like, I wouldn't find it. I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world if you had, instead of a sprint race, you go, okay, we'll have another Grand Prix, but with stage racing. It's not a terrible idea. But yeah, they've gone.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it isn't. Honestly, it works. Like, how many, like, imagine the French Grand Prix, if that was still on the calendar and it was awful. But if you just kind of, how many races, if you could have a button with everyone viewing, green button, red button, shall we throw a caution now, have a safety car and restart the race with everyone gridded up? The votes would win.
Is that Formula One? Is that an F1 race weekend anymore? No, you tell me. There you go.
No, I don't think it is. But if we were going to go back to that track in France, I say we just get rid of all the turn markers and see who gets lost first. I think that would
exactly.
Be
no help.
Immediate disqualification if you're wrong.
Yeah. And instead of a joker lap, you can get out of your car and attempt to have a polite conversation with anyone in France. There you go.
Good luck.
Steve, we're going to have to edit that out. We're going to lose the 7 French viewers that we've got. Also, Mark says that Now TV, which is the streaming only version of Sky, is about 30 quid. But don't get me started. It's not a good service, and you can't watch things back, and you can't record stuff and everything like that. But yeah, yes. So in fairness, that is available. Richard asks, what is Kabaddi? Okay, super briefly, big sport in India, and you've got 2 teams, and you've got to go into the opponent's court and touch as many of them as you can and run back, but you've got to hold your breath while doing it. And to prove that you're holding your breath, you've got to say Kabaddi over and over again. It's a great sport. Go and check it out. What other stories have we got here? Oh, the Ferrari power unit rumor, Matt.
Yes.
The rumor is that it's been a malicious lie that Mercedes is trumping the field with its Mercedes power unit, and that Ferrari is terrible, and that it's been spread to make it harder for Ferrari to employ people, because people are like, oh God, that 2026 project's going downhill. Love that as a rumor.
And this, I love the deviousness of it, because whoever did it, Mercedes, did a extremely good job of convincing everyone in the paddock that they were well ahead. Now, they may still be ahead. That would historically fit them having a incredibly powerful engine development cycle that puts them ahead, in multiple different regulatory eras. But the idea that Ferrari's project was significantly behind was only added to when 2 of their top people actually left to go to Audi, I believe. But now what we're hearing is, in fact, they're headed to the dyno, and they've got specific characteristics they're focused on. And the whole project is apparently on schedule, where they'll be horsepower-wise and reliability-wise will be interesting, because the rumor now coming, this is Ferrari people, I assume, talking to a journalist, is that they've specifically focused on being able to have a higher temperature in the combustion chamber, which would have a knock-on effect of being able to use less cooling and tighter packaging, which looking at the energy imbalance between the power unit and the aerodynamics means that could be a significant advantage for them if they pull it off.
This is a question because I've been wondering, how are these power units going to be re-engineered to account for the immediately very compromised energy recovery system? How will that be accounted for? Do we know?
Fundamentally, they're going to have to do energy calculations for each track and figure out, because I think they're limited to about 350 kilojoules, whatever, recovery per lap. They're going to look at the braking events and recovery versus the overall amount of battery they need. Because the goal was to have it 50-50. That was always a terrible idea, but somebody thought it sounded good in marketing, so now we're stuck with it.
It's true.
And so they're either going to be like, yes, we can recover enough energy and we'll deploy it as happens now, or they'll be like, no, we're going to be short. And at that point, you have to look for places where you can use essentially the engine, the power unit, some part of the power unit to charge the battery back up, which is sort of like an inefficient MGUH, if you will. And that's going to be on a track-by-track basis. The whole idea of what they call the Z mode was to give each car full DRS, front and rear, to reduce the amount of drag. And the reason to do that was so that you could reach top speed using less energy. So it would be less obvious, the lap time difference. And then you could still have the same amount of aerodynamics for the corner. So the cornering speed shouldn't be too much lower. They'll be comparable to somewhere between 2014 and 2016, I think, based on just really a guess. I haven't done any math on that one.
Look what you did, Antonia. That's now what we're ending the show on. That is the
I was interested.
That's the podcast equivalent of ending under a safety car, isn't it?
That's like a compliment from you.
No,
I'm impressed. I don't get those very often.
I want to throw a red flag and have a sprint end, a 2-lap shootout to end the show on.
Let's do it.
We are legitimately out of time. I am going to pop on and do my little sprint review, my little sprint reaction, 20 minutes, because people seem to not mind that. But before that, go in the show notes and go and follow Antonia, because she does stuff in motorsport places and says things, and you're getting really, really good at it, Antonia.
Is that a compliment?
Yeah. You were awful before. I could barely stand to watch. I was watching through my fingers like, oh my God, what's she saying now? Spit your words. No, you've always been very talented, but you are absolutely blossomed as a presenter, and I really enjoy when your clips come up. So what series are you following, and where should people follow you?
I present the Ginetta Championships, which follows the British GT calendar. So it will be on Sky Sports F1.
Ah, you're on Sky Sports F1.
Yeah.
That is good. You should be on Sky Sports F1. And the social media, the scrolly scrolls?
That is all in the show notes. It's Antonia.Rankin on pretty much everything.
Yeah, and Matt, you're fine. Go and follow Matt. He's at MattPT55 on stuff on your social media of choice. But make sure you follow me. I always say this, you think I'm joking. I am the best one. Follow me on Instagram. We've now got at Missed Apex F1 back up and running with clips from the show and things I reckon. Also Missed Apex F1 on Twitter. And we are Spanners on Blue Sky. And also the Missed Apex X account. Boo, whatever. It's there. It's up and running. Same as the Instagram clips. I'm still on there as well because I've got followers on there and I go where the attention is. So follow those accounts and catch our little clips. And people seem to be enjoying the YouTube shorts being on YouTube there as well. So subscribe, please, to Missed Apex and Missed Apex Motorsport on YouTube. Until we see you next, work hard, be kind, and have fun. This was Missed Apex Podcast.